On Valentine's Day, the hotel's most beautiful female employee is brutally murdered. When detectives step in to investigate, multiple suspects emerge, each seemingly hiding their own secrets. After cutting through layers of deception, the truth behind the case comes as a total shock. After sifting through all the clues, Isu determines that Kong, a chaebol heir, is their prime suspect. That night, he drives over and stops Kong as he is leaving the hotel. During questioning, Kong insists he was not fleeing the scene and was merely heading home. According to Kang's statement, after being turned down by Ms. Wu that night, he wallowed in despair and drank heavily in his room. Once his alcohol ran out, he headed to a bar and stayed there until 10 p.m. At that moment, Detective Park sends over photos showing that a steak knife is missing from Kang's hotel room. The blade shape perfectly matches the stab wounds found on Ms. Wu's body. Isu theorizes that, consumed by resentment after being rejected, Kong summoned Ms. Wu to his room and stabbed her to death with the steak knife. Supporting evidence includes the missing knife, blood spatter, and signs that the floor had been wiped clean. In other words, Kang's suite on the same floor was the actual crime scene. Detective Park visits the bar Kong mentioned and confirms that Kong was indeed present on the night of the murder, roughly matching the timeline he provided. Even so, F1ex believes all existing evidence still points to Kong and that he remains highly suspicious. Unfortunately, the hotel manager had ordered the 7th floor surveillance cameras turned off, leaving F1ex and Isu without solid proof. The investigation hits a dead end. Then Detective Park turns up new leads. Investigations reveal it was Ms. Wu herself who arranged to meet the hotel CEO in a vacant 7th floor room. The two had exchanged numerous phone calls, and the CEO had transferred 2 large sums of money to Ms. Wu. Just then, the youngest team member alerts the group that the CEO is attempting to flee the country. Learning his flight is about to depart, F1ex suddenly remembers Isu has a private jet. Without hesitation, Isu races with the team to the tarmac and rushes aboard his private plane alongside the pilot. Hours later, the CEO's flight lands at an overseas airport. Much to his surprise, Isu stands outside holding a megaphone, telling the CEO to get ready for a ride aboard Isu's private aircraft. Cornered, the CEO has no choice but to submit to questioning. He admits he had an extramarital affair with Ms. Wu but claims the last time he saw her alive was when his wife banged on the door to catch them in the act. As for the large transfers sent to Ms. Wu, the CEO explains they were settlement payments, because his wife had physically assaulted her. F1ex quickly sees through this lie. Text messages between the two show Ms. Wu repeatedly threatened the CEO, warning him he would regret it if he refused to pay her. When the CEO stubbornly denies receiving any threats, Isu swiftly unlocks his phone. Records show the CEO contacted someone named Leo on the day of the murder. Running the phone number, the youngest team member finds out Leo is none other than Chen, a front desk clerk at the hotel. Footage shows Chen storming into the CEO's office that day. The youngest team member finds it odd that an employee would confront the CEO in such an aggressive manner. Isu draws a conclusion: Ms. Wu was not actually the CEO's lover. Chen was. Exposed, the CEO finally confesses and recounts the whole story. 2 months earlier, he first met newly hired Chen at the hotel and was immediately drawn to his unique aura. Later, during a staff dinner, the CEO could not keep his eyes off Chen. When the gathering ended, Chen looked after the heavily intoxicated CEO. Though his gestures seemed trivial, an ambiguous bond began to form between them. One rainy night, seeing Chen soaked out on the street, the CEO offered him a ride and handed him his handkerchief for him to wipe the rain off his body. As romantic tension flared up, the two men who had grown fond of each other began a secret relationship. They met privately in vacant rooms on the hotel's 7th floor. Their affair would not last long. Ms. Wu chanced upon their tryst and began blackmailing the CEO. To hush her up, the CEO first gave her a limited edition handbag. When that failed to satisfy her, he transferred a total of 200 million won in 2 separate payments. On the night of the incident, Ms. Wu summoned the CEO to a room, saying she planned to resign and demanding severance pay. Coincidentally, the CEO's wife showed up to catch him cheating. Terrified that his homosexual affair would come to light, the CEO promised to give Ms. Wu the money she wanted. Overwhelmed by pressure that same night, he contacted Chen and broke off their relationship. Enraged, Chen stormed into the CEO's office. Unwilling to end their romance, the two had a fierce quarrel. After the murder, the CEO suspected Chen had killed Ms. Wu in a fit of impulse. His suspicion deepened when he learned the body had been found in the very vacant suite where he and Chen used to meet. Unable to face the consequences of what had happened, the CEO decided to flee the country. Based on the CEO's account, F1ex and Isu shifted their main suspicion to Chen. Surveillance footage corroborated the CEO's testimony. The recordings also showed that after leaving the CEO's office, Chen headed for a bar. The youngest team member surmised that while at the bar, Chen spotted Kong drinking his heartbreak away and devised a scheme to murder Ms. Wu and frame Kong for the crime. Camera records traced Chen's movements. After leaving the bar, he went to the staff locker room. F1ex reasoned he had gone to grab a walkie-talkie and a master key. Using the master key, Chen slipped into Kang's empty suite. He then contacted Ms. Wu over the walkie-talkie, lying that Kong wanted to see her. Elevator surveillance showed Chen spent less than 10 minutes inside Kang's suite before exiting. It would have been physically impossible for him to commit murder, move the corpse and clean up the crime scene within such a short window. Furthermore, framing Kong made little sense if Chen intended to move the body to the suite he used for his secret dates with the CEO. Huayaro concluded Chen must have had an accomplice. Within the hotel, only the housekeeping staff were capable of thoroughly sanitizing a crime scene. Isu interviewed one of the housekeepers and asked whether any colleague had acted strangely on the day of the murder. The woman recalled seeing a fellow housekeeper hiding in a corner scrubbing a service cart, claiming she had spilled coffee on it. Detective Park's investigation revealed this housekeeper was Chen's own mother. The truth became clear: Chen's mother had helped dispose of evidence to cover for her son. Isu tried to persuade her to confess, but determined to protect her child, the woman falsely claimed she was the killer. When Chen saw his mother being taken into custody, he bolted from the front desk. The officers assumed he was trying to run away. Moments later, however, he returned carrying a blood-stained jacket. He stated he was the murderer and presented the jacket as conclusive proof of his crime. During questioning, Chen's account largely matched the investigators' deductions. On the night of the crime, he lured Ms. Wu to Kang's suite and urged her to stop her blackmail. Ms. Wu refused, insisting that uncovering the scandal was the biggest windfall of her life. Unable to reason with her, Chen resorted to violence. He added that he had never expected his mother would cover up the crime for him. As tears of remorse streamed down Chen's face, the case was finally solved. Yet for Huayaro, far tougher and more dangerous challenges lay ahead. One day, Huayaro attended an art exhibition featuring sculptures by a certain artist. The works resembled dismembered human bodies, eerie and grotesque. The sculptor behind these pieces was a suspect Huayaro had been tracking for years.